solution. Now, how does that come down to real estate? Because at the end of the day, where do you think all these companies are going? It started. Now, let me tell you why LinkedIn first. You think that they just at random decide who goes public. This is a very programmed, very planned output of IPOs. LinkedIn was chosen first because, number one, it is slightly profitable. People knew the name. It wasn't a biggie, so that if it did go sour, it would have affected everything. It was worth the test. It's very specific. It's generated, and it was small. So it was a good first one to test, and it did pretty well in the IPO market. Now, everybody wanted to talk about Pandora, but see, that's not in the planetary system. That is basically a way to get customized music. Nobody's going to pay a lot to do that. That was a separate one that came out of nowhere. So don't associate it to the ones that are sitting here that I just talked about. The next one will be Groupon, which is going to be an online discount. Now, here's the second one and why. It's losing money. Now they want to test one that loses money to see if it can hold. I don't think Groupon's going to do as well, and I'll tell you why. It's too easily replicated. And I think Google and Yahoo are going to do it. They'll do it bigger and better. They tried to buy Groupon. Groupon was spoiled. It was stupid. They should have sold themselves to Google, because Google will now say, look, we could have bought you. We would have had it faster, but now we'll build it. And that's exactly what they're doing. And at the end of the day, I think they will overtake Groupon because they have more money than God, and they can do that. But they'll go public. They're basically losing money, $110 million. They want to test one like that. Now, the next one is going to be a Zynga, totally different, a gaming company, and so you're going to begin to see how they're all going public. Now, what does it mean? It means for you, millionaires are going to be created. It's going to mean for you they're going to come down and buy real estate. And it's also going to mean to you something very important. You have to understand these people. That's my key here now. So you know there's going to be wealth. You know the real estate market here, especially in many of the areas you work in, is going to be good. Now, let's talk about the buyers and sellers of this real estate. Because here's the mistake you're going to make if you don't think about how you do your business. They are not like the baby boomers, and don't make that mistake. See, you're very good at the baby boomers. You've been at them a long time. A lot of you are baby boomers. You're bright, you're cultured, you're well-traveled, you're well-educated, you blew your wad, you made a lot of money, you're very emotional, you wanted bigger was better, you wanted to live in those communities, you basically used real estate to basically leverage your wealth. Now, these are your children. These are different people. Remember what I just told you. This is not a manufacturing society anymore. They are not running operations. These are deal makers, all right? They build and create ideas, and they leverage money. That's what they do. And they're going to leverage it differently. They're not going to use real estate to leverage money. They're going to use their stock. Now, let me tell you, and I'll give you a typical example of what I mean. Mr. Zuckerman just bought a house in Palo Alto. You know that. Now, he could have bought a $40 million house. He goes and buys a $7 million house, which in Palo Alto doesn't buy you an estate. It buys you one of the nicest streets where your neighbors are right next door. Do you see what I'm saying to you? They're not big on the $40 million house. That isn't what they aspire to. And this is a guy who, kills his own meat and, does all this stuff, and whatever he does, they're very different. And they're going to think differently than their parents. Yes, they're going to buy homes. They're going to leverage, but they're going to leverage their stock. They're not basically 80% emotional. They're 20% emotional. They look at the numbers. That's all they care about. These are people that are on those BlackBerries and those iPhones all day making deals. So let me talk a little bit about what I think is going to happen. Now, let me give you a typical example about the house in Los Altos. We went back to the $100 million house, okay? Very interesting, because it was bought by a Russian. Now, that's the second group that's coming. You know the international buyers. From Russia, Chile, Brazil, Canada, the Middle East, obviously, and the Asians environment. They're going to come one and all too, and they're going to pick up stuff, play the value of the dollar against their currency. Now, this guy is a hedge fund guy, so he doesn't own a company. He owns parts of companies, you know that. Now, he was in San Francisco originally. Then he went into basically Los Altos and found this home that was not for sale. But he wanted it. But he said to the agent that he was using that he would put a bid on the house one time only and didn't want anybody competing against him. Are you listening to me? That's the first thing you need to know about it. See, everybody that was a baby boomer, they loved to basically compete against one another, because then I'm richer than you and I can show my wealth and I don't care. This guy said me once, one time, are you listening to me, at the table. So what do you do in a case like that? Because you have a fiduciary duty and a responsibility, right, to go to the seller, and the house wasn't for sale. But when I was at Alon Pinnell, we had that similar situation. There was a gentleman from Sun Microsystems when it went public, 30 years old, who wanted to buy a house in Atherton. And the house was owned by a gentleman named Merv Morris, who was the gentleman that founded Mervyn's. And he wanted that house, so we went to Merv, and Merv said, Carole, why would I do that? How is that in my best interest? I said, I don't know it is, but why don't you think about this option overnight? Let's appraise it, let's get 2 appraisals, we'll disclose everything, and let's triple the price. Perfect. You're never going to get triple the price, and you know what? He'll look at it and say, are you crazy? So we did that. A $10 million house, he paid $30 million for it, 10-day, all cash, and didn't care. Tripled the price and bought 2 on either side. 1 for the girlfriend, 1 for the mother. Didn't care, okay? So we did the same thing here. We went back, got the agent who had sold the house. A Korean owned it. Terrific. Now you got a Korean and a Russian. World War III, right? So at the end of the day, went and basically did the same thing. He did not pay quite $100 million, but very close. Now, 10-day, all cash, no contingencies, didn't care about the appraisal, right? Now, they go back to the Korean, and the Korean says, but there's one contingency. Oh, God. What contingency could there be? He didn't want all cash. Now, listen to me, because this is what you have to understand about how they think. He took cash up to the appraisal. Are you listening to me? So he got the money out in cash that the appraisal said the house was worth. Then he took a first on the rest, and he did it for 5 years at 10%. Are you listening to me? And we're talking close to $40 million. Are you listening to me? A lot of money. So now he has an installment sale. He's getting 10% on his money. 5 years down the line, the Russian pays him off, right? The Russian doesn't. He gets the house back. Do you understand what I'm saying? He can resell it again. Creative financing. So what I'm telling you is, you need to get creative with these people. They're in the numbers. They're into how do you position me. So if I'm selling, I get more than just all cash, which I'm going to get hit with a huge tax bill, and maybe I don't want that, so can you help me? Can you work it up so I can do something? If you're coming in, I can pay all cash, but maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I want to pay part in cash. Maybe I want to go to a private investor and get a loan, and basically once my company goes public, here's what they're going to do. They're going to go down to a derivative desk, okay, down to basically Goldman Sachs. They're going to go down to Merrill Lynch. They're going to go down to one of the big brokerages, and here's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to take the stock down. Has to be a public company, okay? And they're going to put the stock up, and they're going to borrow the money to buy the house. Are you listening to me? They don't care if they pay all cash. They're not into that. Oh, I can pay cash. Isn't it wonderful? I can flaunt my money. They're going to borrow the money. Now listen why. Because guess what they're going to do? They know their stock is going to go up in value. They know that. And over time, here's what they're going to do. They're going to take the $10 million or the $8 million and go buy the house. They'll pay cash for it. They can refinance it if they want. They can leave it there. They know real estate isn't going to be the absolute darling of the moment. It's not going to be as good as if they work their stock. I will guarantee you Facebook stock will go up more in value than probably real estate over the next 6 or 7 years. That's probably a good guarantee. So at the end of the day, they will borrow the money, and they will make a contract with that securities company. And they will say, we're going to play the stock together. Let's be partners on the upside and on the downside. I'll lead part of the upside with you. I'll lead part of the downside. We'll cap it at a certain number. At the end of 2 or 3 years, we'll come in, we'll sell the stock. Then I'll pay the capital gains, which I've deferred, hoping that in the meantime, in that 3-year period, I make enough to pay for the house that I bought that you gave me the money for and pay the taxes. Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you? They're going to leverage the stock because they know if until it goes public, it's not going to stop them from buying a house because they will go to a private investor and they will borrow against their stock. They don't want to sell it now. If you had Facebook stock, this would be not a good time to sell it. Wait till it goes public. Go to a private investor, borrow against it, do a contract with them, and say, look, it's at $100 now, that's what they're saying. It'll be $200 or $300 by the time it goes out. Let you and I make a deal. Give me some money, I want to go buy a house. When it goes public, we'll make an agreement. We'll divide basically the 100 to 200. You'll get 50%, I'll get 50%, or whatever it's going to be. So that's how they're going to work their real estate, quote unquote, stock market, basically valuations. Now, it's going to happen over the next 18 to 24 months. You see one boom, 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 boom. So you have a good market. Of course, you're going to have some foreclosures and short sales, but you don't have many anyway. And those that you have, basically, the big banks are trying to get out of the business. They're going to try to give it all to hedge funds, so it's going to move a little bit faster. The middle tier, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to make $800 $1 million on this stock. They'll be able to go in and buy that middle tier for you, that $400 to $1.5 million maybe, or $800 to $1.5 million. So they're gonna be able to either qualify, or they will probably pay cash for their properties. That's where you're gonna see a big concentration of cash. At the real high end, they can do what they want. At the 2 to 5 million, you're gonna begin to see that pocket really open up for you, I think, over the next 18 to 24 months. So when you talk about the real estate market, that's great. When you talk about the economy, that's great. We are basically an oasis in the desert. And so I think it's great that they talk about it all, absorb it. You need to sit these people down that basically live here and say, look, we have always moved to a different drummer here. We have Silicon Valley. There's no other place like it in the whole world. Aren't we lucky? They can't replicate it. Yeah, you can build every building and make it look just the same, but you can't replicate the idea people. You can't replicate how they do business. You can't replicate what they're creating. They're creators, all right? And so at the end of the day, we're very fortunate because we have all those minds and people that want to be here in Silicon Valley. So at the end of the day, I think you have a good real estate market. I think the key is to relook at your business and how you're going to handle these people, these millennials that are coming at you. Because don't put them in the same slot as the baby boomers, because that won't work. They don't think that way. So at the end of the day, I can only say that hang on, because you're going to have a great real estate market. It's better than it was last year. I think you're pretty busy. I know you're seeing multiple offers now. You know where they're coming from. Okay, I've given you a lot of stuff here. You've got stats. I hate them all. Don't look at them. I've given you some information. It's all crappy. Don't listen to it. I think you're very fortunate we are that we live in the valley here called San Francisco. And the rest of it is all garbage. That's how I look at it. I agree the stats, yeah, great. They can make anything say what they want. It doesn't work here. Okay? Good? Any questions for me? Let me talk a little bit about commercial. Best in the area. Boston, New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Washington, D.C. 90 businesses are looking for 2.3 million square feet of commercial space. Very hot right now. They're buying 5% interest. That's what these companies and basically these hedge funds are buying. And they're buying them up like crazy. They're looking at it saying 5% is not going to be there long. Vacancies will fill up. Rents obviously are coming up. I can tell you the rental market's going to be hot. You know that. You got 10 million people that can't buy a house. They're going to have to rent. So the rental markets are hot. San Francisco, we have apartments there as a family. A year and a half ago, we had to give free rent away. Now you put it on there in an hour. They're renting them, and they're willing to pay more than they paid before with the hype of the market. So you know that when you're looking at that, rental and commercial's doing just fine, all right? And we're very blessed here. So you've got Twitter buying new space, you've got Salesforce.com building a huge space, you've got Zendesk taking out 300,000 square feet. So all these companies, what are they telling you? They're going to hire, they're going to go public, they're on the move. This is good. It's a very good time. Stay focused, get out there, do your open houses, be out there, get on the internet, do the things that you need to do. Because I'm telling you, 18 to 24 months, you're going to have a lot of millionaires created in this value. And at the end of the day, is Facebook, we're going to $85 billion. How do I know? And you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because somebody, and a lot of people said it was. That's it. Will it hold it? I think it probably will. At the end of the day, it took GM like 50 years to get to $50 billion, and then they blew it. It's a different model. GM creates cars. They have a product, tremendous overhead. They have dealerships. They have unions. Look at this model, how pure and beautiful it is. The pipe is free, right? You have no overhead. You don't have any locations. You don't, and look at every kind of level they have to get revenue. Every which way from Sunday. You're going to pay online. You're going to pay to take pictures. You're going to pay to play songs. You're going to play games. You're going to do all of that. Believe me. Yeah, it's an amazing thing. It's an absolutely amazing. It's called a revolution. That's what it's called, and we're at the heart of it. So you should be thrilled. You're going to have a good year. Yes.
What do you think about the capital gains tax for the investor for selling real estate after this year?
I think all taxes are going up, I'm sure.
So do you see that going to be any impact now?
I think it will, but I think people will do what they can to try to get around it. We've lived with this world before, we know that. You know they're on a roll to increase taxes every which way from Sunday. There's a big fight between those who do and those who don't. You know, you can tax everybody to the ends of the earth. Here's the problem. Yeah, we spend too much. You can tax people to the end of the earth. That's not the problems that we have. Those are all problems. We need to build growth in this country. And people think of growth and revenue as taxation. When you tax people, you take from one place and just move it to another. It's not increasing the growth. We need to grow this economy. That's different. New business, new sources of revenue. If you move it from A to B, it doesn't do a diddly thing. You're just moving it from the private sector into the government. Does that work? No. We need to grow revenue, and I don't see that that's happening. So at the end of the day, you know what they're gonna do. At the end of the day, they're looking at mortgage deduction. At the end of the day, they're looking at everything from Sunday. Believe me, all of those things will have some impact, but they're not gonna impact the 400 millionaires that are coming out of the hoop. They don't care. They care, but they'll find a way to do it, trust me. They'll find a way.
What's your take on Jerry Brown and the state of California and the
Oh,
finances?
California's a
of-
wonderful place. You notice how we had a $25 billion deficit, then it went down to 16, then 6 billion came in from Silicon Valley over the last 3 weeks, and I'm gonna tell you exactly what they're gonna do. I think he was great to veto the budget. It was a crap budget, you know that, because what they did again was all this creative throwing it down the line. Good. He's gonna hang tough. What he said to him was, look, you're either gonna come to the plate or start taking out the scissors and let's cut. Perfect, let's get there. I think it's a good idea. At the end of the day, it isn't gonna matter, and he knows it, because I will guarantee you, by the end of the year, this budget will be balanced, and it'll have nothing to do with taxes, and it'll have nothing to do with slashing more spending. It's gonna come out of Silicon Valley. And believe me, we're down to about 9 billion. Trust me, it's coming out of Silicon Valley, and we're gonna do what California always does. We spend like we can like crazy. We never save for a rainy day fund. And when Silicon Valley goes down, we all panic because there's the heart, there's where the billions come from, and then we'll go back to stress again. That's exactly what's going to happen in California. Exactly. And they know it. They already know what's coming. They know that as LinkedIn goes public, and then you got Groupon this year, and you're going to have Zanga probably by the end of the year, and Facebook's coming down the line. They see the bucks coming in. They already know. It's already built in. So they're not worried. They just were worried about their paychecks. Wasn't that nice? Isn't it amazing how they passed a budget so they could get paid? I think they shouldn't be paid anyway. All right. Anything else? No more?
Great.
Good?
Thanks,
Bad?
Carole.
Indifferent?
Thank you.
Thank you.